Welcome to iFire Story. This is your go-to spot for gripping tales of love, betrayal, and heartbreak. From true infidelity stories to cheating wife chronicles and Reddit's wildest family dramas, we dive deep into the raw emotions and twists that keep you hooked. Whether it's a lost love saga or a shocking cheating audio story, we've got it all. So, hit that subscribe button, grab some popcorn, and let's spark some stories that'll set your heart ablaze. How could I have anticipated that moment would transform my life entirely? It was merely a typical day until I stepped into that room. As I caught sight of the door ajar, a subtle change stirred within me in an instant. I might have chosen to retreat, to overlook it. Yet, I refrained. For in that instant of clarity, I understood that everything would change from that point onward. Indeed, I take full responsibility for my actions, as I was the one who initiated it and failed to put an end to it. Michael was at his place of employment. The house lay in stillness, yet I caught the soft sounds drifting down from above. Ethan found himself in the confines of his room. Initially, it didn't seem significant to me. A fleeting glimpse of a young man, adrift in his own thoughts. Perhaps he would enjoy a cup of coffee. A brief chat could be enjoyable. Ascending the stairs, I pondered the source of the mysterious sounds echoing around me. As I approached his room, I observed that the door was slightly open. I paused, ready to call out to him, but then my gaze fell upon Ethan. He sat on his bed, laptop resting on his lap, the bright screen illuminating his face with a soft glow. His hands were in motion, and initially, I assumed he was merely captivated by something thrilling. How about an action-packed film? Yet, as I shifted my position, I sensed the color leave my cheeks. In that instant, it became clear to me precisely what Ethan was up to. The reflection on the screen drew my gaze, and an icy wave surged through me. This caught me off guard. This was not something I wished to witness. Ethan hurriedly fumbled, attempting to regain his composure as he anxiously turned down the volume on his laptop. However, the moment had passed. The moment had come and gone. As our gazes locked, his complexion flushed a deep crimson, the embarrassment in his eyes unmistakable. Ah, I apologize, he faltered, averting his gaze. I felt immobilized, as if time had stopped around me. Well, is it the door? I began, yet I found myself completely lost in what I was attempting to express. An unusual warmth enveloped me. Embarrassment washed over me, yet my thoughts surged like a whirlwind, elusive and just out of reach. I hurriedly exited the room, my heart racing in my chest. I pressed my palms against my face, attempting to calm my breath. What on earth was that? I murmured softly to myself. What have I just accomplished? What had caused my negligence? However, was I the sole one to blame in this situation? Cease this, Laura, I admonished myself firmly. Yet the turmoil within me, it was ignited by more than merely what I had witnessed. Ethan had reached the age of 25. He had outgrown his childhood. At 45, I was a woman who had navigated through my share of life's shame. This was an unfamiliar situation for me, yet the sensation of shame was all too clear. I remained motionless in the hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. I swept my fingers through my hair, attempting to regain my composure. As Ethan stepped into the room, he straightened his collar, cleared his throat, and averted his gaze. Laura, well, I apologize. I believed I had shut the door, he remarked, his tone wavering yet genuine. I swiftly turned my gaze, shaking my head in denial. No, no, well, in fact, it seems I owe you an apology. Text. I should have knocked before entering, I said quickly, unsure of what else to add. Stillness. Yet, this silence held a unique weight. For years, we had shared the same home, yet this was the first moment we truly saw each other in this way. It was the initial moment when we felt this unique kind of tension between us. I decided it was time to head downstairs and begin preparing dinner, swiftly turning my gaze toward the stairs. My voice quivered, yet I was making an effort to maintain my composure. Ethan remained silent, his gaze fixed on me, as though he were attempting to unravel a puzzle in his thoughts. Before the significant events unfolded between Ethan and me, be sure to subscribe to my channel, activate notifications, and stay tuned to this story until the very end. I assure you, things are about to become truly thrilling. Up until that evening, silence lingered between us. Silence reigns, devoid of written words, gazes averted, and even the simplest exchanges are absent. Yet in that stillness, there was a subtle promise that nothing would return to its former state. During dinner, we occupied the same table, yet our eyes avoided meeting. The solitary sound echoed in the air, the gentle clinking of silverware meeting our plates. It was essential for us to have a conversation, to alleviate the strain that hung between us. We were both aware of it, but how is that possible? The night slipped away, followed by the dawn of another day, and then yet another after that. All appeared to be as it should, yet beneath the surface, nothing was as it seemed. The quiet between us only intensified the unseen strain that lingered in the air. And then, one afternoon, Ethan took a seat beside me. His eyes betrayed a flicker of uncertainty, yet it was evident he yearned to make amends. Laura, regarding the other day, I feel quite embarrassed. I regret that circumstances have unfolded like this. I really hope this doesn't come between us, he said, his voice trembling yet earnest. I inhaled deeply. Regardless of how peculiar and unforeseen this situation was, I had to ensure he felt comfortable. I smiled, gave a slight shrug, and replied, "Oh, Ethan, trust me. I've experienced my fair share of embarrassing moments throughout the years." Subsequently, I recounted several of those moments to him. His smile softened a bit, and he nodded, the flush of embarrassment diminishing somewhat. In that instant, it felt as though the weight of the tension between us had dissipated. Yet, beneath the surface, I was aware. Nothing had genuinely transpired. Despite the apparent improvements, this dialogue had utterly dissolved the barriers that once separated us, and I sensed it. The situation was on the brink of escalating significantly. Ethan released a soft laugh, his eyes drifting down to the table. "Text. I suppose we are on equal footing now," he murmured softly. I cast a subtle frown and shifted my gaze toward him. "Could you clarify what you mean?" I inquired, a hint of curiosity lacing my tone. For a fleeting moment, his demeanor changed, as if he had just come to the unsettling realization that he had uttered words he could never retract. He massaged the nape of his neck, pausing briefly in contemplation. Yet he had already begun. And now he found himself compelled to press on. He inhaled deeply, then averted his gaze as he whispered, "I've seen you." In the same manner. You simply weren't aware of it. A surge of energy coursed through me, igniting every nerve ending. I paused, caught in a moment of stillness. "Excuse me?" I murmured, feeling the heaviness of his words settle upon me. Ethan's face was aglow, yet he pressed on undeterred. I never shared this with you, as I felt too ashamed. Yet, it remained etched in my memory. In truth, it was my own little secret, a thought that lingered in my mind. My heart raced uncontrollably. A peculiar warmth enveloped me, an unfamiliar feeling that signaled a shift had occurred. Ethan's words transcended mere confession. They obliterated every boundary that had existed between us. I gazed at him. He was gazing at me as well. At this point, it was clear to us that this was no ordinary exchange. The atmosphere in the room grew dense, and a transformation had taken place. From that moment forward, everything transformed. A chasm had always existed between us in the past, the unseen divide that separated us. Yet now, it seemed as though that boundary had entirely disappeared. Unbeknownst to me, I found myself dedicating significantly more time to Ethan. Minor instances, apparently trivial exchanges. Yet, in truth, each instance merely intensified the strain between us. We found ourselves sitting together, enjoying movies side by side. In the past, we maintained a certain distance, but now, an invisible force drew us together, a shared sentiment that lingered between us, yet remained unspoken. At times, as Ethan leaned back on the couch and my hand lightly grazed his leg, or when our laughter mingled in the air, an unfamiliar sensation stirred within me. Yet, I made an effort to push it from my mind. On a restless night, sleep eluded me. I found myself restless, unable to settle in bed. Yet the unease within me refused to grant me peace. Only a single thought occupied my mind. Ethan. This situation was unsustainable. I found it essential to establish a boundary. If he harbored any feelings for me, I needed to express it clearly and bring it to an end. With that thought in mind, I rose from my bed. My heart raced wildly, yet my feet had already led me to Ethan's room. The door stood ajar, a soft glow spilling from within, casting a gentle light across the room. Upon entering, my gaze fell upon him. He lay in slumber. Yet, in that instant, my gaze was elsewhere. They were focused on something entirely different. Something large. My breath was taken away. My body became momentarily paralyzed. Witnessing him in that state unleashed a tempest within me. It was something I never should have witnessed. I ought to have turned back right away. However, I did not. I lingered for a moment, attempting to grasp the emotions swirling within me. In that moment, I swiftly retracted my actions. There was a feeling within me that I couldn't quite contain, yet I had to push it aside. I went back to my room and lay down, yet everything felt different now. That night, I was blissfully unaware of the intricate twists and turns that lay ahead. Regardless of my efforts, I found myself unable to deny the deepening bond with Ethan. As time went on, the lines became increasingly indistinct. The attraction between us intensified with each passing moment. I was completely unaware of how far things had progressed. Yet the undeniable truth was that retreating had become an unthinkable option. And then Ethan returned home in that manner. He was inebriated. The clatter from the door, the items he disturbed, the cacophony might have stirred Michael from his slumber. Yet, I understood the struggle Michael faced each morning to rise from his slumber. I swiftly exited my room and made my way to Ethan. I barely had a moment to adjust my attire before I found myself standing directly beside him. Ethan's gaze drifted, a subtle smile lingering on his lips. "Laura, do you truly exist?" he muttered softly. His words, though thickened by the drink, carried a genuine weight. I inhaled deeply and seized his arm. "Ethan, let's go." It's not appropriate to head upstairs in this manner. We must maintain silence. Yet Ethan's gaze was fixed intently on my features. He smiled gently, his eyes gradually roaming across my figure. Your beauty is truly remarkable. Have you always been like this? Or was it something I simply overlooked? I paused for a moment, but then swiftly regained my composure. Ethan, that's sufficient. Step into the kitchen, and I'll brew you a cup of coffee. I gently guided him to the kitchen. I attempted to bring him back to reality, yet the intensity of Ethan's stare and his words were causing something within me to come undone as well. Ethan settled into the chair as I busied myself with the coffee preparation. In an unexpected moment, the cup slipped from his grasp, cascading its contents across the counter. "Oh, Ethan, you must exercise greater caution," I murmured, hastily attempting to tidy up the chaos. Yet Ethan merely offered a gentle smile. "Have you always been this kind?" I swiftly tidied the kitchen. We had to leave this place behind. Michael lay peacefully upstairs, yet with Ethan in such a condition, he had to remain silent. "Very well, we shall proceed upstairs." "But hush," I cautioned, wrapping my arm around his and steering him toward the stairs. Upon entering his room, it was clear that his movements had become increasingly unsteady. He had to change his clothes, yet he felt too disoriented to manage it himself. Initially, I felt the urge to walk away, but upon witnessing his struggle to remove his shirt, I found myself compelled to lend a hand. As my fingers grazed the buttons of his shirt, Ethan's breath became more measured. In that instant, the atmosphere crackled with unspoken tension between us. The quiet deepened the intensity. I was fully aware of my actions, yet paradoxically, I felt completely lost. Ethan's gaze held a new intensity as he looked at me. This was one of those moments, a moment we could never reclaim. Ethan paused, contemplating as he changed his clothes. He allowed his hands to drop to his sides, fixing his gaze on me. In that moment, I became aware that my breath was coming in faster than usual. The silence enveloped the space, the weight of the air pressing down, rendering each breath a challenge. "I'm done with this game, Laura," he said, his voice initially gentle, yet brimming with conviction. I gazed at him, my eyes unyielding and fixed. My heart raced with intensity. What was Ethan attempting to convey? "Are you?" he added, his voice taking on a richer tone. "So, we only managed to catch each other that one time, and that's all there is to it? Are you really not considering it at all? I'm aware it lingers in your thoughts as you drift off to slumber." A chill coursed through my body, prompting me to take a hesitant step back, yet my feet seemed anchored to the ground. "Ethan, this isn't right," I insisted, though my voice quivered. Ethan's smile was subtle, yet it carried an air of mischief. "We moved beyond the moment of determining what is right quite some time ago, Laura. Cease the self-deception." He stepped forward, moving with purpose. And yet another. He was so near now that I could sense his breath brushing against my skin. He lifted his hand, his fingers softly gliding along my cheek. I tried to turn my gaze, yet it held me captive. Because beneath the surface, I understood he was correct. And then Ethan's lips brushed against mine. Every bit of quiet, the weight of the anticipation. In that fleeting instant lay the solution to it all. The cacophony of thoughts in my mind abruptly fell silent, every uncertainty dissolving into soft murmurs, because I had not stood my ground against Ethan. In all honesty, it was never something I desired. My hands shook, yet I remained steadfast. Upon witnessing the fierce resolve in Ethan's gaze, I realized that all secrets had been laid bare. I inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of anticipation as I gradually let the straps of my attire slip from my shoulders. "You have a point, Ethan," I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "It's time to put an end to this charade." As I drew nearer, I reclined on the bed. My heart raced within me, yet retreating was no longer a choice I could make. Ethan gradually bent closer to me. He gazed into my eyes for a fleeting moment, then offered a smile. "Do not fear," he said, his tone comforting and gentle. "All is as it should be." I turned my gaze, a chill coursing through me. Though I couldn't bring myself to acknowledge it, deep down, I was aware of just how long I had been anticipating this moment. Yet, I found myself unable to hold back the words that tumbled from my lips. "Ethan, I feel a bit frightened," I admitted, my breath coming in fits, due to several significant factors. "Ethan, I feel a bit frightened," I admitted, my breath coming in fits, due to several significant factors. Ethan smiled, brushing aside my words as though he found them appealing. Perhaps it was due to his inebriation. Ethan leaned in close, his voice barely a whisper. "We can't let Michael wake up." I understood his implication. Silence was essential. A powerful sensation surged within me, compelling me to restrain myself from letting out a loud sound. Ethan glanced my way and remarked something along the lines of, "I understand. Laura, all is well, and you are too." What was he aware of? It seems he figured it out and truly grasped my thoughts. I found it impossible to resist, so I shut my eyes. I clutched the sheets firmly, my body shaking and convulsing uncontrollably. I pressed my hands against my mouth, stifling any noise that might escape. Ethan was inebriated to the point of indifference, oblivious to everything around him. This was truly having a significant impact on me. The thrill of the occasion intertwined with all the other elements, and the captivating sensation of something monumental. Ethan found himself inebriated, fatigued, and gasping for air. I exclaimed, "Ethan, you're looking flushed, and we need to move quickly." Ethan replied, "Very well." He replied, "All right." Yet he continued on the same path. And increasingly, another contraction hit, and I found myself indifferent to everything around me. I had lost all sense of who I was. I shut my eyes and whispered, "Whatever you desire, Ethan. Anything you desire." Ethan must have enjoyed it, as he truly immersed himself in the experience. He released all his hold. That was excessive. The intensity within me was overwhelming. I gently placed Ethan in his bed and tucked him in snugly. After that, I secured the door to his bedroom. I longed for a serene shower experience to unwind fully. I was completely in the dark about what was coming next. What just transpired? As I stood under the cascading water, my mind wandered to the thoughts swirling within me. Yet a sense of nervousness and unease lingered just beneath the surface. And yet, as I emerged, a sense of clarity enveloped my thoughts. Strangely, I found myself feeling a sense of calm. I found it hard to feel any anger towards myself. As my mind found tranquility, my body mirrored that serenity perfectly. I slipped into my clothes quietly, made my way to the bed, and surrendered to sleep as though the world around me had remained unchanged. Yet the reality is that this was merely a fleeting thrill, a surge of impulsive longing. Yet simplicity was always elusive. What about this? This was not destined to remain uncomplicated either. The journey continued beyond this point. It was not possible. Greater events unfolded, greater intensity. Ultimately, Michael was destined to uncover the entire truth. The tale continues to unfold. Be sure to follow and subscribe to stay updated on what unfolds next. Enable notifications and share your thoughts in the comments. This keeps you ahead of the game for these narratives. Your encouragement is invaluable. Thank you for sticking with me through this journey. That's it for today's fiery tale on iFire Story. If you got caught up in this infidelity story or Reddit cheating drama, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. What would you do in this situation? Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss our next true story of love gone wrong. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay curious and keep the spark alive.